June 6, 1944. It is just after 10 in the morning when Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's staff car rolls through the iron gates of his headquarters at La Roche-Guyon. The car slows, gravel crunching beneath the tires, but Rommel does not move. He is still wearing his dress uniform, the same one he wore the night before at his wife Lucy's 50th birthday dinner in Germany. The uniform is immaculate, pressed, ceremonial. It belongs to a peaceful evening that now feels like it happened in another lifetime. Rommel steps out, pauses, and instinctively looks north. What he sees freezes him in place. The horizon is black, not with clouds, but with ships. Thousands of them. A solid wall of steel stretching from one end of the Norman coastline to the other. The sea itself seems to have vanished beneath hulls and smoke. Above it all, the sky is alive, swarming with aircraft, so many that they blur together. Then, the sound reaches him. The deep, rolling thunder of naval guns. The ancient stone walls of the chateau tremble, as if the earth itself is being torn open. In that instant, before anyone says a word, Rommel understands something that will take the rest of Germany nearly a year to accept. This is not a raid. This is not a feint. This is the end. Before we go any further, if you want deep, cinematic World War II storytelling like this, told without hype and without shortcuts, you are in the right place. This is WW2 Silent Valor. Make sure you like this video and subscribe now, because the story you are about to hear is not just about a battle. It is about the moment one of history's greatest commanders realized the war was already lost. Rommel's chief of staff approaches him, pale, almost breathless, holding a stack of reports that suddenly feel pointless. The invasion began 6 hours earlier. Allied troops are already ashore. Paratroopers have seized bridges inland. The Atlantic Wall, Germany's so-called Fortress Europe, is cracking, open. Rommel does not take the papers. He does not need to read a single page. Everything he needs to know is written across the sea in front of him. Standing there at 10:15 in the morning, Rommel feels the weight of inevitability settle on his shoulders. Not in 6 months. Not in a year. Today. This morning. The rest, he knows, will only be dying. To understand why Rommel reaches that conclusion so quickly, you have to understand who he is and what he built. Erwin Rommel is already a legend by this point in the war. The Desert Fox, the commander who humiliated British forces in North Africa and forced Winston Churchill himself to admit grudging respect. Hitler calls him the Reich's finest field commander. The Allies fear him more than any other German general, not because he has more men or more tanks, but because he sees the battlefield differently. He moves faster, thinks sharper, and takes risks others would never dare. In late 1943, Hitler gives Rommel what may be the most impossible assignment of the entire war: defend the coastline of Western Europe, nearly 3,000 miles from Norway to the Spanish border. Everyone knows the Allies are coming. The only questions are where and when. When Rommel inspects the existing defenses, he is horrified. The Atlantic Wall is a myth, a propaganda slogan, scattered concrete bunkers, poorly placed guns, obstacles that look impressive on posters but would collapse under real pressure. It is nowhere near strong enough to stop a determined invasion. Rommel immediately goes to work. He pours millions of tons of concrete into the coastline. He orders the planting of hundreds of thousands of mines. He covers beaches with steel hedgehogs, wooden stakes, and Belgian gates designed to rip open landing craft at low tide. He floods inland fields to drown paratroopers before they can regroup. He positions artillery to cover every possible approach. This, he believes, will be Fortress Europe. And, unlike the politicians, Rommel actually believes in it. But Rommel also understands something most of the German High Command refuses to face. Germany cannot win a long war. The Allies have more men, more factories, more fuel, more ships, more planes. Time itself is the enemy. Germany's only real chance is to destroy the invasion at the moment it lands, while Allied troops are trapped on open beaches before they can unload armor, artillery, and supplies. He tells his officers again and again that the enemy must be annihilated at the waterline, not delayed, destroyed. Equipment smashed while it is still floating. Men cut down before they can dig in. For that plan to work, Rommel needs one thing above all else: control of the panzer divisions, mobile armored reserves that can rush to the invasion site within hours and crush the beachhead before it hardens into something unstoppable. Hitler refuses. The panzers are kept under central command. They cannot move without direct authorization from Berlin, without permission from the Führer himself. That single decision dooms everything Rommel is trying to build. When the invasion comes, Rommel is not even in France. He is in Germany, celebrating his wife's birthday. He has not seen her in months. He also plans to meet Hitler to argue, once again, for control of the armored reserves. Rommel believes the invasion will come later in June, based on tides and moonlight. He is wrong by 10 days. In the early hours of June 6th, he receives a phone call at his home. Allied paratroopers are dropping across Normandy. Ships are approaching the coast. This is it. Rommel immediately calls his headquarters. Where are the panzers? They have not moved. They cannot move without authorization. Someone is trying to reach Hitler, but Hitler is asleep, and no one dares wake him. Let that sink in. The largest amphibious invasion in human history is underway, and Germany's armored reserves are sitting idle because Hitler is sleeping. By the time Hitler finally wakes and gives permission, hours have passed. Orders crawl through the command structure. When the panzers finally begin moving toward Normandy, it is already afternoon. Allied fighter bombers tear into them from the sky. Roads turn into killing zones. Tanks burn. Columns scatter. The chance Rommel warned about is gone. When Rommel arrives at La Roche-Guyon later that morning, the situation is already catastrophic. 5 beaches have been assaulted. Allied troops are inland on most of them. At Omaha Beach, American forces have suffered horrific casualties, but are clawing their way off the sand. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, British and Canadian units are linking up. At Utah, American troops are already miles inland. The Atlantic Wall has held for less than 2 hours. Rommel stands over the situation map as red markers spread across it like a disease. Blue markers, representing German units, shrink by the hour. His staff waits for orders. Rommel runs the numbers in his head. Distances, timings, supply lines. He sees what no one else wants to admit. The panzers will arrive too late. The Luftwaffe cannot challenge Allied air power. The Navy cannot touch the invasion fleet. Reinforcements will be bombed to pieces on every road. Every hour that passes makes the Allies stronger and Germany weaker. Rommel turns to his chief of staff, Hans Spiedel, and speaks so quietly it is almost a whisper. We have lost the West. Not that the battle is difficult, not that challenges lie ahead. Lost, past tense. 10 hours into the invasion, Rommel already knows the war is finished. He explains his reasoning with brutal clarity. The Allies achieved surprise. They landed with overwhelming force at the moment of Germany's greatest weakness. Germany cannot replace losses. The Allies can. Every tank destroyed is irreplaceable. Every trained soldier killed is gone forever. Germany is bleeding to death in Russia and Italy. There are no reserves, no miracles coming in time. Rommel also understands something he does not say aloud. Hitler will never allow retreat. He will demand every inch be held, bleeding the army white in battles that cannot be won. Rommel can already see the future unfolding. France lost, Germany invaded, cities destroyed, Berlin in ruins. Still, Rommel does not surrender. For 7 weeks, he fights with everything he has. He turns Normandy into a nightmare. Hedgerows become fortresses, lanes become killing zones, Allied casualties mount into the hundreds of thousands. He makes them pay for every mile. But the math never changes. For every Allied soldier killed, more arrive. For every tank destroyed, more roll off ships. Artificial harbors rise from the sea. Fuel pipelines snake across the channel. The beachhead grows while German divisions wither. Rommel drives constantly to the front, ignoring warnings. On a July day, Allied aircraft catch his staff car on a country road. They strafe it. Rommel is thrown clear, badly wounded. He nearly dies. While he recovers, the Americans launch Operation Cobra and break out of Normandy. Just as Rommel predicted, the war in France collapses. By then, Rommel is already involved in a plot to remove Hitler. Not out of idealism, but cold calculation. Germany must end the war or be destroyed. The plot fails. The Gestapo closes in. In October of 1944, 2 generals arrive at Rommel's home. He is given a choice: trial and execution, with his family ruined, or poison, a hero's funeral, and his family spared. Rommel chooses poison. So what did Rommel really see on that morning in Normandy? He saw the end of illusion. He saw that courage cannot defeat factories, that tactics cannot overcome logistics, that genius cannot beat arithmetic. Standing at that window, watching the horizon burn, Rommel understood the truth before anyone else dared to speak it. In that moment, the weight of years of fighting, planning, and sacrifice pressed down on him. He was not thinking like a politician or a propagandist. He was thinking like a soldier who understood numbers, supply lines, factories, and time. He knew the Allies could afford mistakes, delays, even disasters, and still keep coming. Germany could not. Every hour after that morning only changed the scale of the loss, not the outcome. If this story made you see D-Day differently, leave a comment below and share this video with someone who loves real history. Stories like this survive because people pass them on. This is WW2 Silent Valor, and this is how one man saw the end of a war before the world was ready to admit it.